A mist. The kind that still soaked you, but did so slightly more politely than the torrential version. "Go now," I quietly exclaimed to myself, knowing my window of opportunity might close quickly. I scurried up to the Dean Bridge and ran along Queensferry Road as cars and buses passed me by. I thought about trying to hail one, but truly, the church wasn't that far away. I could see its tall windows and the full view of its spires the second I stepped onto the bridge. I had been told to use the red door on the side of the building, located on Belgrave, instead of the front doors. With my head down and my backpack lifted to cover at least a little of my hair, I took the corner onto Belgrave. Out of my lowered peripheral vision I spied the door, but not the person who must have just exited it. "Oh!" I said as I skimmed a shoulder. "Gracious," he said, his voice almost as wobbly as his legs. I grabbed his arm gently to keep him from falling. "I'm so sorry," I said, glad he stayed upright. "Are you all right?" "Eh?" He blinked up at me with clear blue eyes behind water-streaked glasses. A few strands of gray hair were slicked across the top of his head. I continued to hold his bony elbow in my hand. I didn't want to let go until I knew he was steady. "I am fine," he continued. "Though I'd like very much to continue on. It's a wee bit blashy out here." I knew that blashy meant rainy. I'd heard my landlords, Elias and Aggie, use the Scots word more than a few times now. "Right." I looked around. "Can I help you get somewhere?" "I think I'm fine. I live just across the way." He smiled with false teeth that shifted ever so slightly with the gesture. He was old. I was caught between insisting on going with him and not offending him. Finally, since we were both so wet we couldn't get any wetter, I nodded. "All right. Again, I'm sorry," I said. "Not to worry, lassie. It's not every day I get to run into a young lovely." He winked. I smiled and let go of his elbow. With sure steps that were a little hitched to the right, though maybe that was because of the big satchel he had over his shoulder, he walked around me. I thought for a moment that he was unsure of which direction to go, but after a brief hesitation, he seemed to figure it out. I watched as he made his way across the street to a row of tall, narrow brick apartments that reminded me of townhouses, though I hadn't heard them described that way in Scotland. I thought about following just to make sure he was okay, but if Elias had taught me anything, it was that Scottish men, particularly those over 60, and under 2 probably, were proud enough that my offers of help might be more offensive than considerate. I turned again and hurried toward the red door. Just as I put my hand on the knob, I spotted something on the ground. Inside a sealed plastic sandwich bag was a deck of cards. Protected from the rain by the plastic, the deck was face down and secured with a rubber band. I crouched and carefully gathered the bag. I'd seen the illustration on the back of the top card before, and I knew it immediately. Nessie, the Loch Ness monster, in all her cartoonish glory, rose from the water and sent a vicious sneer to anyone who might be looking. I couldn't determine when the artwork had been created, but I'd researched enough about the old girl to know the deck of cards might come from as far back as the beginning of the last century. I thought the cards might have fallen from the old man's satchel, but that was just a hunch. I took off in a slippery run across the street, but he was nowhere in sight. No one was in sight, probably because it was raining, and no one in their right mind would remain outside. At least not without a brolly. I needed to get in from the rain. I didn't hurry since I was now drenched to the bone, but with quick steps I made my way back to the church's door. I was glad it was unlocked, as I did what I'd been instructed to do and made my way inside. Once there, I didn't know what to do but drip for a minute. As soon as I felt semi-presentable, I would seek out who I'd come to find, the woman who would hopefully help. Despite the rain, the sweet man...